Hi, Gary Jones here, and today in Radio Vancouver's Studio 6, I have the good fortune of sitting here with Roosevelt dos Santos and Maine da Silva, two very interesting people, hailing from the United States in the case of Roosevelt, but originally from Haiti, and from Brazil in the case of Maine. Now then, why are you here today in Cuba? What's going on?
Well, first, thank you for having us here, and good morning to the folks here in Havana, Cuba. Why are we here is quite an interesting question, and hopefully we'll try to stay brief with our answer. Primarily, we're here because we're interested. We're interested in Cuba. We've always been curious about Cuba, and I think the rest of the world is also curious about Cuba and would love to come to Cuba as well. But we've had the good fortune, as you mentioned, to be here in Cuba to find out things for ourselves. So as young people, and many can attest to this, both in Brazil and the United States, as young people, we have this clouded view of Cuba through, of course, the media and what we've learned. So we here to clear our head, to say the least, and clear our understanding and get rid of our ignorance about Cuba.
Does this go for you as well, mate?
Yeah, this first good morning, and nice to be here. And yeah, as well, because Cuba vision in Brazil is like because of this Bolivarian thing about Venezuela, and we are here to clear up our view, right?
Okay, now I know that Maine, you are a student of history, and Roosevelt, you are an MBA, and going back to research. So your thrust here at the moment is, apart from the pleasure of being here, right, I think a deep interest in what's going on in the business sense.
Absolutely. We're quite interested in what's going on here in the business sense. We are interested in seeing where Cuba has been, where Cuba is, and where Cuba has the potential to go. So from what we've observed, this country is quite interesting to say the least. Cuba's past, of course, is one of the world's renowned past as far as what's been done here and how this country is it's been able to thrive and to work for the past 56 years and even prior. So the business aspect of it is quite interesting for us, at least. One of the things, I'll give you an example. One of the things that we've always interested in is this aspect of how Cuba does business with the rest of the world, because we hear about these embargo, but we still see things in Cuba. For example, in the US, people think all cars that are in Cuba are from 1920 to 1955. So where did the new cars come from? How did they get here? So forth and so on. So understanding simple things like that and being able to translate that, or perhaps to transfer that to the greater, at least to our sector of the world.
Now maybe something for you. We know about the blockade of Cuba,
right,
but we also know that President Roosevelt has been highly influential in bringing the special port development in Mariel into existence. $1 billion possibilities there. So surely there must be a slightly different view of Cuba from Brazil.
Yeah, most of people love Cuba, because of the political system, but there's a lot of people who are afraid of socialism in Brazil, and that's this how you call this?
I guess the shift.
Yeah, between the still view in Brazil,
yeah.
But Dilma has had a lot of critic about this deal with Cuba, about the port, but she did, and I'm grateful she did.
Okay. Now, if we can, let's focus a little bit on the business changes in Cuba. It's, as we all know, a centralized economy,
right,
but there have been very, very fundamental changes going on.
Absolutely.
Now, where do you think are the best opportunities here in the current changes and in possible future changes in Cuba, especially for external investment?
Right. Well, I guess I'll start by saying Cuba, from what I've seen, Cuba is ready to go in any direction that Cuba wants to go. Cuba is only, and you mentioned the fact that my background, of course, my parents are Haitian, and I was born and grew up in Haiti for part of my life. In comparison even to the United States, Cuba's ability, or Cuba's education, I should say, the amount of people here that are well educated can go from this economy quickly to any other economy that Cuba decides to go. So what does that mean in a business term? Cuba is ready for business, right? Cuba is ready for business, but conscious, socially conscious business, not just let's make money and without any other regard, but other regards. But I do see, from what I've seen since the past week that I've been here, I do see Cuba having the ability to go wherever it wants to go. Now, to answer your question specifically, Cuba's best, I mean, in reference to the outside world, Cuba's best assets, I guess I could say, to use a business term, is its people. It's its people. It's its resources. It's not simply just tobacco anymore. But you have a human capital here that nowhere else has. The reason why China from 1986 to current day has thrived in the recent world is because they had great human capital. Now they had a large number of people to do a lot of different things. So companies flock to China for cheap labor. But this is not what Cuba is all about. Cuba has the intelligence and has the. Just the other day I was at a bar and having a meal with Maney. And the gentleman who was playing the guitar, we started talking, and through the midst of our conversation, he was like, "Yeah, I'm a chemist." We know where the United States import chemists from? From India.
Now for Maney, you know about Cuban medical presence in Brazil. Now here is human capital.
Yeah.
Tell us about that from your perspective.
From my perspective, it's the best thing we have in Brazil, because the medicine there is not that good. It's not that good. We have free medicine, it's free health care, but it's not that good quality, And Cubans work like with their heart, and it's the best. I don't know how to speak.
I think you've said it. Now, switching to the larger cultural sphere, there has been a profound influence in Cuban culture from Haiti. As you know,
Absolutely.
Several waves of Haitians have come and have enriched the Cuban culture. Tell us a little bit about this from your perspective.
Well, it's an interesting perspective, at least for me. My mother's father was actually from Cuba. And my mother's grandfather, Cheristal, was actually from Cuba. And so, though I didn't get to meet him, but my uncles they all have very Cuban names: Lorenzo, Oscar. My mother's name is Anasia. So that's quite interesting that this wave of influence. So culturally, the influence came to Cuba, but now I feel like Cuba is also returning that favor to Haiti. So, from my perspective, I feel like Haiti has a special relationship with Cuba prior to what's being done in Haiti now. And of course, going back to Manny's point and going back to your point with the medical aspect here, of course, the world knows that Cuba has one of the best medical systems, and not just the medical system, but the doctors and the people, the medical professionals, I should say. So, and what Cuba has done as far as sharing that with the rest of the world, specifically in Haiti. My past experiences in Haiti, where I've witnessed Cuban doctors working in the hospitals and next to their Haitian counterparts. So, not to get too much off subject, but I think the relationship between Haiti and Cuba is quite unique, and I look forward to a better relationship between Haiti and Cuba. And it's those are two countries who you can't really separate their friendship, I guess.
Maybe the effect and influence of slavery on Cuba and slavery in Brazil and its aftermath. Does this mean that there are things in common in terms of Afro-Cuban religions and music between Brazil and Cuba?
Of course, yeah. There's a lot of things in common between Cuba and Brazil, in religion and music, and even in sports. Here you play more baseball, but you love football, soccer too. But there's a lot of things in common, and people who come here, you feel like you're at home, and it's very easy to feel home here because it's very much like Rio and other places in Brazil. It's very similar.
Well, thank you. I'd like to round things out at that point. I thank you very, very much for your contribution to the show, and I hope that you come up with the goods here in Cuba.
Absolutely. Thank you all, and hopefully, we through our research we can exert such a unique perspective. Because one thing I have to mention is the fact that one of the main points of our research is because is that we wanted to get Cuban perspective from Cubans. We both have gotten so many things about Cuba from either an American perspective, a Brazilian perspective, media perspective, but no one has really taught us Cuban history or Cuban perspective from Cuba. So we've decided to come and you know, fund ourselves to come to Cuba, not just for the beautiful and hot sun, but really to get a Cuban perspective from Cubans, because I think only Cubans can really tell the world how Cuba is and where they think Cuba should be.
Thank you both very, very much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you so much for your time.